Hey, it's Sundeep.
Hey, it's Patrick. Welcome to Moments of Brilliance, a podcast about life, laughter, and raising daughters.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. Thanks for joining us. It's 5 days before Christmas, and we thought we'd keep things a little casual. Patrick, how you doing? How's the lead up to Christmas been for you? Got any interesting stories or anything you want to share? I haven't talked to you for a while.
It's been busy, but yes, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. I know Hanukkah just ended last Friday, so it is that time of year where everybody is celebrating. Lead up to Christmas has been good. Of course, my daughter is very excited. Some days too excited. So I got a funny story from this week. So after dinner most nights, we will often come downstairs and play in the basement. She likes to play either a game or she'll play obstacle course where she sets up like pillows or blankets and stuff, and we have to run around the basement. And it's just something fun to do after dinner. But, you know, the thing to know about my daughter is that she has this fine line between having fun and getting quite cranky before she gets sleepy, before we should have already put her to bed. And oh yeah, there's this very razor thin edge of like, we've had fun and now we're not having fun anymore. And it usually it's like turns on a dime. So this week, I think we had one of the best ones ever. So we're playing in the basement and we're playing obstacle course. And all of a sudden, for some reason, my daughter starts to undress. And then, I don't know why, so I have a naked child in the basement, and she is running around screaming and sits down and says, "Daddy, I want to sleep in the basement." And she starts pounding her feet, which is almost breaking through some of the presents because of our tree is in the basement. So we have now, pretty much. So we have now called this naked and belligerent. So we are now cautioning against our daughter being naked and belligerent. So the joke this week has been, are we at naked and belligerent yet? No? Okay, she doesn't have to go to bed. So I think, Sundeep, we should call our next podcast Naked and Belligerent and just see how that goes over. And speaking of naked and belligerent, it is, of course, the holiday season. And wait, good segue, you say? Maybe. Some people could be naked and belligerent. It is Christmas and there is alcohol involved. So who knows? With that, today we are talking about the Christmas season. And we are talking about traditions around Christmas. So, Sundeep, I think, the first question I have for you today is, what were some of your traditions as a kid? What are some of the things that you can absolutely remember as a kid for around Christmas?
Wow, what a segue.
I know, you're welcome, right? Probably the weirdest segue yet, but I had to do it.
That's hilarious, man. Okay, who hasn't run around naked around the Christmas tree?
I mean, whatever you're into, alcohol's involved sometimes, whatever your thing is.
No, that wasn't my tradition.
Are you saying that's what your tradition is for Christmas? Because I know some people that might be their tradition. But anyways, I digress. Going on.
That's hilarious. Okay, so if we're thinking about childhood Christmas traditions, I have to think about, so my parents, when they moved here, it was like, they moved here from Africa, and it was like the late 70s, early 80s. We were born in the 80s, me and my older brother, my youngest brother was born in the 90s. But in the 80s, right, my parents came from Africa. They were very like traditional. They were religious. They're Indian. And so like Christmas wasn't really a huge deal in their minds. But that being said, we still had a Christmas tree. I remember Christmas trees. I remember presents under the trees. They still did it, and they did it for us. And they kept telling us, "Oh, we don't really celebrate Christmas, but we're doing this for you guys." But if we're doing this, we actually are celebrating Christmas. So eventually, as the years went on, we never let go of that tree. Every year it was up. Made sure there was presents under the tree, and we got them into it more than they think. So I mean, what Christmas, when I think back, I think about like things like me and my brother had this race car that we would build, a track every Christmas that we'd pull out. We'd build that. We'd race cars. We'd play video games. Um, the music and all that, not so much. We'd watch like we would watch movies. Obviously, like late '80s, early '90s was Home Alone, and
Yes, of course. Yes, Home Alone.
it's hilarious because we still, we put that on and we asked our daughters, like, do you want to watch a movie? And it was really like a back and forth battle until like we flipped it on. I'm like, just pay attention, you might like this movie. And when we got to the part, when Harry and Marv were doing their thing, and Kevin was beating them down, like they found it hilarious. They loved it, and they my it's only been like a few weeks, but my oldest daughter is still, she stands up on the couch and she's like, Kevin, and she just falls back into the couch. It's hilarious how much she loves it now. But yeah, I mean, growing up, things were a little bit more simple. I think for the fact that, it became really, I don't know about you, but it became really, really commercialized around, I don't know, that's when I kind of remember. I think that's why my parents were like also into it more. And that's what I remember. The fact that it got a lot more commercial, and like if you look at it these days, it's more commercialized than anything out there, right? And it's kind of unfortunate, you lose some like traditions and things like that, but yeah, I mean, that's what I remember growing up. It was a fun time, like school was out, Christmas holidays were on, and it was great. How about you?
Christmas was always a big one in my house. So I grew up Irish Catholic. So Christmas was a big deal in my house. It's funny. I say, we grew up Irish Catholic. We never did midnight mass. That was never a thing we did. We went to every other mass, never did midnight mass. My dad always wanted us home on Christmas Eve or wherever. There's so many traditions we've had over the years. Like Christmas was my dad's big holiday. So it was we always had presents of some kind. We didn't have a lot of money many years, so my mom would actually start a Canada Savings bond and save up for the year in order to buy Christmas presents, just to have something under the tree. We always had, the house was full of people, whether it be we went to my neighbors on Christmas Eve when I was really young. We had people over Christmas Day, Boxing Day, so there was always people in the house around the whole season. It was always a big deal in my place when we were growing up. And I think, there's always some little things that I always remember from that. So, every year at Christmas dinner, we always had Christmas crackers. And I don't know if you know what those are, but very British thing.
No.
Where you they're little packages with a snap in them, and you one person's supposed to hold one end and the other holds the other end, and you pull, and like this snap comes open and the package opens and there's like a little gift inside. It's a very British thing. You can really get them a lot. You can still get them anywhere now.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of crackers.
No, not those actual crackers, but that's what they're called. It's
Okay.
Christmas crackers, which is kind of funny, but very British thing. So we had a lot of that. And of course, there's one thing I always remember from my dad growing up, which is in our first house, our tree was in the basement, and we always had to wait until Dad was awake, and we could not go in the basement until Dad was awake. So our parents, Santa, would leave stockings outside of our bedroom so that if my brother and I woke up, we could wake up, play with our stockings, not wake our parents up, because we had like an allotted hour we were allowed to wake them up. My brother and I'd always wake up probably like 4 a.m. So we'd have our stockings and they'd say, play with these until at least 6, then you can wake us up. So we'd probably wake them up 6 o'clock. My dad always had to get his coffee, put his robe on. Then he would have to go downstairs, plug in the tree. And when we walked downstairs, all of the Santa gifts were unwrapped and under the tree and whatever they were. And so, Santa had always put them and put them together, and they were always there. So I remember getting like GI Joe base one year. Another year we actually got a computer for Christmas. Like they saved up everything, and that was like Christmas that year. We got like one of the first computers that was out way in the early 80s. My dad thought it'd be a good idea for us to have that. But I just remember like always having that kind of thing. And it was very, I always remember it being very much my dad's holiday, which is kind of ironic. And this is a bit of a downer for this podcast, but in 1999, my father actually passed away on Christmas Eve. So that was,
I remember you telling me that.
That was both weird, but also kind of interesting at the same time, because Christmas was such a thing for him that, you know, him passing away, Christmas Eve was crazy. And that was a memory I'll always have him. And it was very hard at the time, but now I kind of look back on it as like, that was him kind of passing on the torch. So my brother and I still very much love Christmas. We love the lights. Like I decorate my house early November. We've got lights up in November. The Christmas tree goes up early November. And that was all kind of in honor of my dad for loving that holiday so much. And I'm trying to instill that into my daughter.
That's really nice. I mean, you could have taken it either one way or another, right? You could have always been depressed during this time of year, but your perspective is you took it a different way. You're right. You're honoring your dad, passing of the torch and everything like that. So
yeah, and I got to tell you,
that's not an easy thing to do for people.
No, and that took a long time to come around to, but it certainly was something where it's like, well, you're right. I could choose to be depressed or I could choose to be excited. So it's good that way. But I have to, a funny story from around that time. So after he had passed away, Boxing Day, we actually had to go pick out his coffin. And I remember my brother-in-law saying at the time, "Do you have any Boxing Day deals?" And I think that just cracked everybody. And that was probably the best moment that I've had, because I do remember that moment to this day. Like, do you have any Boxing Day deals? And
it's kind of funny.
So the owner of the funeral home is somebody who's like buried my entire family. Like he's been burying them for years, him and his father. So he knew us. And so it was just kind of this like funny, beautiful moment at this time of crazy grief. So it was it was kind of funny. I won't say that's a tradition for Christmas now, but it's kind of funny to think about, right? Especially the time
that is kind of hilarious.
So is there a tradition that you want to pass on to your daughters that you or your wife had as kids? Like, is there something that you want to try and instill in them around Christmas?
Yeah, I think we want to keep the magic alive, like you get to a certain age, you realize Santa is actually not that real, but we want to make sure that we keep that magic alive as soon as, as long as we can. So our primary focus for actually our Christmas tree went up on November 1st. So
your wife is more into Christmas than I am. Yes.
It's funny. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are the same.
I'm sure there's people out there yelling at us right now too, saying, "November 1st, what are you doing?
What's wrong with you?" I know. There's a lot wrong with us. Yes. But Christmas is not one of them. Anyways, so we want to focus on fun. Like we want them to have fun. We want them to, we do the things where we have the elves on the shelves and we move them around.
You do the elf on the shelf?
See,
we don't do it. We don't do elf on the shelf in my house. I refuse.
This is the first year we're doing it, and I'm responsible for it. And every night I forget, and my wife is like, "Did you move the elves?" I'm like, "Oh no." Okay, so I go back down and I do that whole thing. I don't mind doing it. It's kind of fun.
Refuse to do elf on the shelf. But anyways, continue.
It's fun. Every morning they wake up, like today, they're sitting on the stove inside 2 cups that we took on vacation with us, so stainless steel cups with their names on it, and they're just like, almost like as if they're on a lazy river just chilling. And they're like, "What are they doing?" It's like, so things like that. So we want to focus on fun. we bring on the advent calendars. They're allowed to have a little bit more treats, more so around this time
Yep.
of year than any
Yep.
other time of
Yep.
year, even more so than Halloween. So we're kind of a little bit, like a little bit more flexible in terms of like what they're allowed and not allowed to do. And family time's a big time for us around this time of year. So we make sure that they spend time with their families. They'll have like we'll arrange sleepovers with their cousins and their
That's
grandparents
good.
also. We'll do activities with them and just focus on sort of things that they want to do, as school is winding down this
Yep.
week and they're going to be home for another 2 weeks. We're gonna ask them what do they want to do. It's not gonna be a complete yes day sort of situation, but it's gonna be like we're gonna go to the movies one day. We're gonna go, if it snows, we've been actually kind of it's been a funny winter. It's kind of in the positives, and it looks like Christmas Day is gonna be like 7 degrees.
No, it's gonna be
which is
weird.
I don't remember.
It's
Do
gonna
you
be
remember a time when it was 7 degrees on
Christmas. No,
Day?
and it frankly, I don't love snow. I'm a horrible Canadian that way. But Christmas Day and New Year, Christmas Eve, it can snow all at once. I'm quite happy for the snow.
Yeah.
So I'm a little sad it won't be snowy on Christmas. But anyways, I'm a sentimentalist that way.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's actually a good relief this year that it's not snowing as bad. A lot of Americans think that we live in the snow. We don't really live
You
in
do
the
not.
snow. It's just it gets cold this time of year, and this year we lucked out. Yeah, so that's me. That's us. Kindness and sharing is a big thing that we want to focus on this time of year, but also like throughout the year we want to start instilling this. So like making sure that we talk about like sharing and giving versus receiving and kindness over, I got two girls and they fight a lot, but you know, right now we're using the L's as an excuse to behave. The L's are listening.
Yeah.
They report into Santa. So I just want to see how that goes. But it's a goal of mine to like keep doing that all year round. So yeah, those are sort of the traditions that we're sort of carrying around. We watch a lot of movies. Home Alone's a big one in our house. A lot. We started getting him into the Grinch. They started watching that. And for me, like growing up, actually, I forgot to mention this. As I started getting older, my mom used to really love Mr. Bean during the holidays. And me and my younger brother always used to play video games during the holidays. So that's actually something that's also passed on in my household. Like they'll last year, we haven't started this year, but last year they used to love Mr. Bean, and who doesn't? I mean, I love the guy. And my daughter's actually into video games right now. It just started like a couple of weeks ago where she would pick up a Nintendo Switch, bring it to me and be like, "Daddy, let's play Luigi Mansion."
Cute.
And that's her thing for the last couple of weeks.
Cute.
And I'm kind of like, wow, this is cool.
It's cute. That's super cute.
How about you?
I think there's a few things that I still do. So I'm now the one that goes downstairs on Christmas morning and turns on the Christmas lights, right? So that's me. We make Amelia wait till we make my daughter wait until everybody is here. So Christmas has changed in my house over the years. So obviously, growing up, it was that. After my dad passed away, I was obviously a little older. I would have been 21, 22 when he passed away. So I started going to, like, Christmas Eve was always friends in London. And then I would come back to St. Thomas, where I was from, and then spend Christmas at another friend's house, and just end up having a few drinks there and a few laughs. And then Christmas Day was always at my house with my family and whoever else would come over. And then that kind of changed when I met my wife, and we moved to Toronto. I went back to St. Thomas for a few things, kind of did that tradition for a while. After a while, she came down and we had a Christmas just for her for a couple of years. And then after we got married officially, I ended up spending Christmases with her family. So we would do Christmas. How did we used to do this? Oh, it switched so many times. We would do like Christmas Eve into Christmas morning with my family. And then Christmas at lunch, we would drive to my wife's family who live in Alliston. So it was basically a 3-hour drive, and we'd spend time there. Then that evolved into us doing a special Christmas with my mother when she was still alive, and my brothers, my brother and my brother-in-law, the weekend before Christmas, and then doing Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Boxing Day with my wife's family in Alliston, and then we would drive back down to my wife's mother's house and do Christmas with her dad's side of the family. And so, like, it's changed a lot over the years.
That is a packed
It
schedule.
used to be so packed, and we always tried to figure out how to make it not packed, and it never worked. So what actually ended up happening, so when my daughter was 1, we had her first Christmas up at her grandmother's place in Alliston. But when she was 2, it was COVID. COVID actually helped save my sanity a bit, because we did what I always wanted to do, which was have Christmas at my house and have my daughter wake up here, go have the tree, and do it here. So since COVID, I host Christmas. So I'm actually going to pick my brother and his husband up in a couple of days. They're going to come here for a few days. Then my wife's mom and her aunt come over on the 24th. Everybody's here for Christmas. We have a nice big Christmas dinner. We open presents on Christmas Day. I take my brothers back on Boxing Day. My wife's mom will take her aunt home on the 27th, and then we are going to go spend a couple of days at my his mother's house, just to kind of get out and change scenery. And then we're coming back, and New Year's we're actually spending with you and your lovely family this year. So Christmas has always been this very packed, busy time, but it's kind of funny. I kind of like it. So I would say, I think the thing that I want to pass on to my daughter is that friends, that family, that time around Christmas, not focusing on the presents and what you're getting, but it's the time with family. It's that time where you don't have to do anything. You can't go anywhere because everything is or used to be closed anyways on Christmas Day. So you can't go do anything. You just hang out and just either play with what you got or what you've had in the past, hang out with family, and just enjoy yourself and spend that time and take that time to just enjoy what you've got and the people you still have left. Because over the years that I've been, alive, I've lost all my grandparents, both my parents. My wife lost her father. There's no grandparents except for Karen has a grandmother who's 97. She's in a long-term care home, and a mother. So it's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking over the years, but it's enjoying the people you've got left. And I suspect as my daughter gets older, she'll have friends and she'll want them to come over around Christmas. And I'll be like, yeah, bring them over. Why not? It's the more the merrier, right? That's my attitude around Christmas, is kind of let that happen. And I think the other amazing thing, one other Christmas story that I've kind of got, my daughter actually took her first steps on Boxing Day 2018.
Ooh.
So Christmas is always got this special magic for me, and it's and it's got always wonderful, and we actually have video of her first steps on Boxing Day, and it's
that's amazing.
It's so cool. So it was so there's so many wonderful things around this season. So for me, I always take tons of time off from work around this season. I save up my vacation, try and take the whole thing off to just soak it up and enjoy it.
Exactly. You have to, right? And if anything, if there's a silver lining to what COVID has brought us, is being in the present moment a little bit more than we're used to. Being at home, spending time with family, and just, like you said, soaking it up, right? That's important. Very, very important, especially in a young child's life.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that you were still obviously we've both still got Santa in our houses. Our daughters are 6 and 3 respectively, I believe.
3 and
3 and
5.
5, right. Your oldest is almost going to be 6 next year, same as mine. So obviously Santa's still around. Do you remember at what age you discovered the Santa myth, or were you told?
I actually don't recall. Maybe because I still believe in him.
Hey,
I don't know.
there is hey, I absolutely still believe in everything that Saint Nick actually stands for. Not the super commercial side of things. Though, I mean, I
Yeah.
do like a good present. Let's be clear. I'm not here to lecture people on being commercial. I love getting presents. I love being surprised with stuff. So, like, let's be
Me
clear.
too.
I love that. But I do like what he represents, which is sharing and giving in time. But I mean, do you remember when you sort of determined that the person coming into your house on Christmas Eve was not necessarily real?
Well, if I really had to think back,
Or did your parents tell you?
I honestly don't remember, and I'm kind of cool with that because at some point I'm sure like obviously around like elementary school, heading into high school, you don't necessarily still believe in Santa Claus, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think if it went away around elementary school, if just the type of person I was when I entered high
Right.
school. But I'm gonna say, like, as a parent, it's all come back, right?
It really has. I agree with you. I remember only because, so I was 10, and I only remember because I found the stash of presents that I had asked Santa for, and I flat out asked my parents, "Are you Santa?" And so I found out before my older brother. So
really?
like I remember being young. So that was, and it was too bad to kill the mystery then, but do I believe in it now and do the whole thing? Absolutely. I'm the Christmas shopper in my house. I'm the one that goes out and gets all the stockings. Like we have quite the opposite household here, because I see all these memes and stuff on whether it be Instagram or Facebook or whatever, about moms, and they go buy all the presents and dads are surprised by what everybody gets, and like, oh, look what's in the stocking. I do all that. I play Santa this year. I love it. I go like, I mean, obviously my wife is there and knows what's there, and helps wrap and does all that good stuff. That's not what I'm saying. It's like I'm the one that go gets it because I'm so excited. Like I start thinking about Christmas, what we're gonna buy in like November. Sometimes I'll buy stuff early in the year, and like I've got a whole thing of stocking stuff ready for her. My daughter has 3 stockings because she made 2. So will I fill 3 stockings? Yeah. Will they be jam packed? No, but I'm gonna fill 3 stockings this year because I just like putting all the little stuff in and seeing her face when she gets the Santa present. I always try and make sure that there's such a thing. We don't go overboard. Like she gets 1 Santa present and then stockings, and that's Santa, right? Like it's not insane.
Yeah.
But still, I try and keep that magic alive for her, and I'm going to try and keep it alive as soon as possible. Now it's getting harder in today's world, I see, because there's already stuff, there's stuff all over the internet and things that they can read, and other kids talk about Santa. She still believes. I hope it stays for a long time.
Yeah. Our kids will be fine, and it's actually really cool that you as a dad are really, really into it. In my household, it's more so my wife, but she's more so like the planner, the organizer, the one who'll do what you do, like buy all the presents, and she enjoys wrapping them too. I'm more so the guy who like works behind the scenes with her.
I work behind the scenes. Do you mean do nothing? Nod and smile?
I got my video game going on one end. I got the TV running on the other end. Yeah, that's me.
Yep, that's what.
But it keeps the kids entertained while my wife is busy doing all that other stuff.
That's right. See, it is my wife who is playing with my daughter or putting her to bed while I'm wrapping a present, or sometimes like. And I mean, let's be clear, my wife will absolutely like shop for stuff online and be like, our daughter needs this, so she'll buy it, whatever it is. But I'm the one that's always like, let's go get the fun presents. So like we kind of split Christmas that way, but it's quite fun. So I think
Cool.
I you know what, I think with that
I got hold on. I got one more question for you before we wrap up.
okay.
What is the most memorable childhood gift that you ever got?
The computer.
I'm not talking about like the most expensive. Okay, you've chosen the most expensive.
No, and the only reason I say the computer is because it was such a surprise, and it was back when computers were relatively new. Like I'm talking, like this is, for those out there, this is way before the internet. In the 80s, I had what was known as an EGA monitor. So it was green. We still used DOS. But like it was, and I just remember it because, and not because it was expensive, but because they saved, and I remember my dad distinctly sort of being like, these things are going to be big. I think this is something that you should probably learn about. So he had that forethought, him and my mother, because my mom bought it through her work, and they had this like pay as you go kind of plan for the, they would buy it and then she would pay her work back for it. And so it took a lot for them to do it. Cause I mean, my mom didn't make a lot of money, and my dad was out of work a lot because he was in sales. And that's, depending on how the year went, he was in sales for cars or I don't know, industrial products or like whatever. He sold everything. So he wasn't always working. So for them to get this for my brother and I for Christmas, it was like this, it would have been it's this big deal for them to buy that.
Yeah.
And for them to have this forethought of like, you should probably learn how to use one of these. And I would have been, I was young. Maybe
right.
a little older than 10, maybe sub 10. I can't remember. Because I can't remember if it was a Santa gift or a parent gift. But I remember coming downstairs and this thing is set up on this little tiny table. And there it was. And I just remember my brother and I just looking at each other going, whoa. And the first game we played was Ghostbusters in EGA. So Ghostbusters was green. But it was this amazing thing. What about you? What was your favorite gift? Sorry, you were going to say something.
No, that just makes me think like, what's our gift to our kids, soon, where we're going to be like, yeah, this thing is going to be big. I need you to learn it now.
What's the gift for them that's going to be the one they remember? And I mean, I should say it's not only the big ones that I remember. There's so many little things, but it's funny. The moments I remember around Christmas are these little tiny things, like my dad having to plug in the tree, or the Christmas dinner was always such a big thing. For some reason, it always seems like they started the turkey some ridiculous hour. Now I started turkey and it takes 3 hours. So I don't know why they were starting turkey at like 6 a.m. It seems like they cooked it forever back then, and I don't know why. But like those, and having the people, and so it's not the gifts. I remember, the computer obviously stands out because it was such a big deal and a hard thing for them to buy. But like,
I don't know. I'm not picking on you for the computer. Like I got a computer also. I don't know if whether or not it was Christmas now that I think about it, but in the previous episode I was mentioning the Commodore 64. Yeah. That was a really big gift to me and my brother at like early 90s, like late 80s, around that time. And I honestly don't remember if it was a Christmas gift or not. If I had to choose a memorable gift around Christmas time when I was young, I think it would probably be, I think I got a Ninja Turtle. I know my memory's kind of foggy these days, but it's usually those action figures that really like gets me, excited back in the day. And like, so if it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle action figure like Michelangelo in the trench coat, don't know if you remember that, but that was a big thing for me. I think I even got a skateboard. Me and my brother got skateboards when we were young. Still, to this day, don't know how to make use of a skateboard.
Probably don't at your age. You could hurt something. I
Yeah.
definitely won't at my age. I'd probably break something.
Yeah, I remember like later on, like in my teenage years, I like pulled that skateboard out of the dust and stepped on it and it went flying across the room, and I like landed on my hip, and I was like down and out for like 10-15 minutes, and I was like, oh my god. My brother came down and he saw me in agony and just went back upstairs. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, everyone, that is it for this episode. We want to wish you an absolutely amazing Christmas or holiday season or whatever you celebrate. Even if you celebrate nothing and you're just excited that it's a Monday and Tuesday off from work, if you're celebrating that, whatever it is, we hope you have an amazing time and enjoy some time with friends and family at this beautiful time of year.
Yep, well put. Enjoy your holidays, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and we will see you in the new year. Moments of Brilliance, a podcast about life, laughter, and raising